What are the three things that you must take with you when you go to the races? This is a great question that was posed by Steve, and I wanted to share this with everybody because when we look at going to the races, I want you to be ready for everything and surprised by nothing, but unfortunately, sometimes accidents happen. The three things that I want you to take to the races with you on the two extremes, one would be a moist heating pad, and the other extreme would be ice cups. I want you to get the little Dixie cups, the mouthwash Dixie cups. I want you to fill them up to the edge, and I want you to take those with you. Now I know if you're traveling in a cooler in your truck or car, they might melt a little bit, but the reason why we want to have those two extremes is because if you happen to incur an injury, we want to start being able to address the magnitude of the injury. And you go, but Rob, you said there were three things. Exactly. And that would be ibuprofen. If you're an athlete that has a one event per day and maybe you won't race again for another week or two, this isn't going to be as imperative. But if you have multiple races in one day or you have multiple days of racing, every time you get injured, you've got to remember that you're in a race against space and time. If you, let's say that you've got multiple races in one day, what we want to do is, and it's not healthy, I'm the first one to admit it, but again, this is a question that came in, and the goal in these videos is to answer your questions and frustrations. If you have another race that's coming up, we have to offset the inflammatory response, because if you look at, let's say that you twist your ankle, the area is going to engorge with fluid to limit the range of motion to keep you from doing more damage. Like I said, it's not the healthiest thing to do to try to offset that natural inflammatory process. But what if you spend a lot of time and money trying to get to this day of racing or a weekend of racing or a week of racing? Unfortunately, we have to cross that fine line and try to keep ourselves in the game. Now, I'm not saying that I want you to try to race when you've got a significant injury. I'm talking about you've taken a digger to the ground and your shoulder's swollen up. Nothing's broke. You didn't get concussed or anything like that. What you're trying to do is offset the inflammatory response so that you can go back out there and have proper biomechanics. So let's go back to the three items. When you hit the ground, you're in a race against space and time. So the ibuprofen is going to offset the inflammatory response. It is going to mask the pain, which is a very dangerous state because you could do more damage. I'm only answering the question. We all have to make those final executive decisions. We want to immediately apply the ice because it's going to vasoconstrict. It's going to limit the inflammatory response. Now, you say, Rob, what about the moist heat? We only want to bring in moist heat after 48 hours. For the first 48 hours, nothing but cold. The ice cups, if you take an impact to the shoulder, you would take the ice cup. It is a little bit messy. You're going to peel a little bit of the paper and you're going to do circular massage wherever that impact was. And you're going to continue to peel the paper away until that ice cup is completely melted. It answers the question, how long should you ice? Ice until the ice cup is completely melted. The reason why we don't want to apply heat for the first, specifically moist heat, for the first 48 hours is because we're trying to limit the inflammatory response. And when you put moist heat on there, it vasodilates, more blood goes into that area. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning stiffer because you opened up the area. Now remember, this is not the healthiest thing to do because you're going against the body's natural response to an injury. But answering the question, what should I take to the races? What are the three things? Well, if you get an impact injury, you've got to apply ice for the first 48 hours. Take ibuprofen. It is going to mask the pain, but it's also going to improve your sleep at night. So when you roll over and you go, ouch, that wakes you up. Now we have decreased quality of sleep, which slows down the recovery process. You look at, and I want to clarify because I get this question quite often, why do I always advocate moist heat versus dry heat? Dry heat will simply make the skin sweat. Moist heat will actually permeate through the tissue itself. So there's the difference. So if you are fortunate enough, let's say that you are traveling to your event in a motorhome, buy one of the heating pads that you can put in the microwave, creates the moist heat, put it on it till it cools off. Be careful not to burn yourself, they can get really warm. For the first 48 hours, use those ice cups, keep them in your refrigerator in your motorhome. If you're traveling, I know, put them in your cooler, Cover them with a bunch of ice so that way you can use those. Hopefully you come back from the race and you won't need them whatsoever. But these are 3 things that I find are very, very important. Have them at home, have them in your motorhome, have them in your truck, whatever you're traveling to the races with. So as always, great questions coming from you guys, and there is an abundance of questions that keep coming in each day. Thank you. That's what we're here for. Every day we're going to be posting an answer to your question. So please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, not as a sales pitch on the channel. I want you to always be aware of the questions that we're answering, and maybe 1 or 2 of those may resonate with where you're at on the health, wellness, and performance spectrum. But as always, thank you for watching these videos, and we will catch up with you again soon.